Okay, we want to do another problem here where we're going to find the value of x in the diagram below. Now you may or may not know this, but when you have two lines intersecting like this, the angles that are opposite each other are actually going to be the same. So these two angles are the same, and you'll talk about that more in geometry. You'll do a million problems like that in geometry, in fact, if you haven't already done that in junior high. So these two angles are the same, so if I want to know what x is, I will set them equal and try to solve that. So the first thing I need to do to solve this, I'm going to move the 3x over because it's smaller, so I usually will move the smaller term, avoid negatives. It doesn't matter though. So I subtract 3x from both sides, and the 3x's cancel there. I bring down a negative 8 equals 5 minus 3x is 2x minus 14. Now some of you may be wondering, how come you're subtracting? You've already got a negative sign there. Aren't you supposed to do the opposite? But remember what I've said many times, you look at what you're trying to get rid of, which happen to be positive, and do the opposite of that. Okay, now I need to move the 14 out of here, so I'm going to add 14 to both sides. And negative 8 plus 14, hopefully we're getting good at adding negative numbers by now. I get a 6 equals 2x. And then divide everything by 2, and I get x equals 3. And you check your work and plug it back in. I think you'll find that these two angles are the same. Oh, what if you wanted to know those angles? That might be another thing they'll ask you too. Sometimes they'll say, what's the value of the angles? So in that situation, you could plug the 3 back in, and you would get a value of, let's see, 3x, 3 times 3 minus 8 is 9 minus 8, or 1. So it just depends, you know, whether x is in degrees or probably 1 degree. If this is drawn to scale, it's definitely not 1 degree. Maybe it's 1 radian, which is another way to measure angles that you'll learn about later. But this would be the actual value of the angle here if you wanted to know that. So just keep that in mind when you get to geometry, and you will be money ahead of everybody else. Let's look at another example. You can buy an Xbox for $199 and used Xbox games for $19 each, or Nintendo Wii for $143 and new Wii games for $33 each. How many games would you need to buy of each before the cost was the same? And by the way, I had an Xbox and it broke and it made me really mad, so now I have a PS3 and I will never have Xbox again. Just want you to know that. So it's not going to happen. So let's say that we'll let x equal the cost, or we'll let x equal the number of cartridges, because that's what we need to know, and that's going to affect our cost. So the variable that affects other variables, usually you'll let that be x. So x will be the number of cartridges, and y will be the total cost, not number, it'll be the total cost of the game. So total cost of the game and the system and all the stuff together. Okay, so what's the cost for the Xbox? Well, you have 109, so the Xbox, you have 199 startup fee when you buy the thing, plus $19 for each game, so that's 19x. And then for the Wii, it's $143 for the whole thing, plus each game is $33. So I have 33x. Okay? And then I'm going to set these things equal because I want to know when the cost is the same, so I set them equal. So 199 plus 19x equals 143 plus 33x. I was wondering how come my Wii games were more, and then I realized I said used Xbox games, so that's probably why. Okay, so now I need to move all the x's to one side. I'm going to subtract 19x because it's smaller. Often we will do that, but you don't have to. By the way, if this 19 had a negative in front of it, you would be adding 19x. So watch your signs carefully. So those cancel. I get 199 equals 143 plus, and then here, if I subtracted 20, I would have 13, but I subtracted one less than that, so I have 14x. See how I did that mental math? Or you use your calculator. But mental math is cool because if you can do mental math, people will be like, man, this person is super genius. I want to be their best friend. Well, I mean, it didn't work for me, but maybe it'll work for you. I don't know. Okay, so anyhow, next thing I need to do here, I need to move the 143 over. I have a two-step equation now, and I'm moving 143 to get the 14 by itself. So 199 minus 143, let's see, I guess that's going to be 47, it looks like to me. So 47 equals 14x. Wait, that's not right. It's actually 56. I am totally spacing out there. Okay, so then I divide both sides by 14, and I get x equals 4. So it looks like if I buy 4 games, the cost is the same. Now, because Wii games cost more, if I buy more than 4, I should get an Xbox if I want to save money. If I'm going to buy less than 4, it's cheaper to buy a Wii because I don't have to pay as much to start out with. So if you get exactly 4, you can get either one you want if you like them both the same. Personally, I'd probably get a PS3 because it's way cooler. It's really neat. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will talk to you again soon. Maybe I'll see you playing PS3 sometime. We'll play Call of Duty or something. I don't know. Don't play that because that's a violent game. Play something nice. So talk to you later. Okay, so we want to rent a paddle boat, and one company charges $20 up front plus $3 per hour, and the second charges $15 up front and $5 per hour. And we want to know how many hours we would have to rent for in order for the cost to be the same. So let's define a variable here, and the variable that I think is going to determine our cost is the time. So I will let x equal the time in hours. And the total cost to rent from the first company would be 28 plus 3 times x, because if 1 hour costs 3, then x hours would be 3 times x. So this is the first company. And then the second one charges 15 up front plus 5 per hour, so 15 plus 5x. So we have a fixed amount and a changing amount based on the hours. And I want to know when the two costs will be the same, so therefore I need to set these two equations equal to each other. And now that I've done this, I can get all the x values on one side. So I will subtract 3x from both sides, and I get 28 equals 15 plus 2x. And now to get 2x by itself, I will subtract 15. And I get 2x on one side. And on the other side, I guess I have 13. And so then I divide by 2. And I get x equals 7.5 or 7.5 hours. So if you rent for exactly 7.5 hours, the cost will be the same. If I'm going to rent longer than that, I would probably go with the first company because they have a smaller hourly rate. If I'm not going to rent quite that long, then I would go with the second company because they charge less up front. Okay, so I hope you found this helpful. The next one I want to do here, I want to do the following problem. It says it takes Mr. Boyer 1.5 hours to create a video. By using a new program, he could make the same video in 1.25 hours, but it takes 8 hours initially to learn how to use it. So how many videos would I have to make in order for it to be worth my time to learn this new program? I realize it's a little unrealistic because actually it takes me about 10 minutes to make a video. And plus, it would never take me 8 hours to learn how to use any program because I love computers. I love technology. And I'm good at it. So anyhow, but for some people, maybe not. So let's see, 1.5 hours to create a video. So the number of videos that I make determines my time. So I will let x equal the number of videos. Actually set up similar to how we did this last problem here. And then the total time that I take doing it the old way would be 1.5 times x. But if I learn to do it the new way, then I have 8 hours initially that I have to add on to my time, one time. And then for every hour, which I call, or for every video, which I call x, the number of videos, it would be 1.25 hours. Okay? And I want to know when these two things are equal. So 1.5x equals 8.1.25x. And I'm going to subtract the x term to move it over. And remember, it doesn't matter which x term you subtract. Usually I'll go with the smaller one. Also remember, if you have a negative in front of your x term, then you'll add. But I do this here, I get 0.25x. And then on the other side I have 8. And then if I divide by 0.25, that's like dividing by a fourth, by the way, which is the same as multiplying by 4. So in my head, I can do that and get 32. So I would have to make 32 videos before it would be worth my time to learn this new way of doing it. If I don't make that many, then I can stick with the old way. But if I know I'm going to make more than that, then I'll go with the new way. How many videos have I actually made? Well, for all of my classes all together, I didn't count, but I'm saying probably close to 500 or so, 400 or 500. If I haven't, I will have by the end of the year. So anyhow, hope you enjoyed this video though, and maybe it'll help you in the future when you have to make decisions about things. You know, you can set up an equation just like this. So I'll talk to you again soon.